This is Samsung S20FE 5G, the Samsung flagship but with Snapdragon. Now you might have already seen all the unboxing and first impression etc. But I've noticed often there are few things that get missed out in first impression. So I decided to wait for some time and actually use the phone for a few days as my primary device. And here's my experience so far. Today I'll answer the question, should you buy the new S20FE 5G? Also, how does it compare with the Oneplus 9 or the Vivo X60 Pro? Well, this is Prateek, you're already watching TechWiser. Let's begin. Now, before we start off, most of you might already know that last year in 2020, Samsung released S20FE Fan Edition, which was tech YouTubers' favorite globally. But in India, like every Samsung flagship, S20FE came with Exynos 990 instead of Snapdragon. And it had some heating, gaming performance issues, bad image processing, etc. etc. So Samsung came with a much needed change of replacing Exynos 990 with Snapdragon 865 and 5G, of course. Now, what's the same, you ask? Well, you still get stereo speakers, wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, IP68 waterproofing, full One UI with Knox, Good Luck modules, Samsung Pay and Android 11. So all these things, you know it, I know it. So not going to talk about it. With that out, let's start with the things I liked. First thing I liked about the S20FE 5G is the display. It's a Samsung phone, so obviously they have better display than competition. Also, there is a screen protector this time, cute little change. Now, this is a 6.5-inch 120Hz AMOLED display. You get 2400 by 1080p Full HD resolution. Since it's 120Hz display, all the scrolling, typing on the keyboard or just browsing through the web feels faster than normal 60Hz display. But then again, 120Hz is quite the standard in this price range, so okay. Now there are two things in particular which I thought was odd about this display. I'll talk about that in a bit, but this is a gorgeous looking AMOLED display. If I compare it side by side with the Vivo X60 Pro, the brightness, colors were on par. I found the Samsung S20FE to be a bit cooler, like in this scene, the yellow looks more vibrant on the X60 Pro. But you can easily change all of that through the display settings. Now, coming back to the two things, this device is an HDR10 display, but I didn't find the HDR option in Netflix. I guess Netflix hasn't certified it yet. Hopefully, Samsung will fix that in an update. And HDR in Netflix does make a difference. Like here, see the opening scene of Stranger Things? You see this color bending issue in the gray area right here on the S20FE. I don't mean it's a bad display, but yes, it cannot understand the HDR on Netflix as of now. Second thing, you have only two refresh rate modes. It's either 60Hz or adaptive 120Hz. So you cannot set it to 90Hz, which I'll tell you later why it's important, but yes, you can either use it like a normal display or put it to adaptive 120Hz and let Samsung decide. Like the S20FE can put your display to 24Hz if you're watching a movie, or if a game is only 60 FPS, it can switch to 60Hz. And it goes on adapting to what you're doing. All in all, this is a good AMOLED display panel with 120Hz refresh rate. It's as good as what the competition offers. Moving on, the second thing I found outstanding about the S20FE is the camera. The camera on this thing is really good. I'm impressed. Like, I would say this is no camera mechanism. You have a 12 megapixel main sensor, 12 megapixel wide angle sensor and 8 megapixel 3x optical zoom sensor. And all of these camera sensors are useful. No 64, 108 macro camera gimmicks, straight up business. So for example, the other day on a Sunday afternoon, we went to India Gate and India Gate is closed as of now. You cannot go close to it. So I had to click a picture from the other side of the road. Now with a normal sensor, you will have this picture. You would have to crop and remove traffic, people. But now with 3x optical zoom, I can just zoom in and not worry about bad picture quality. And another example, there was this dargah which was really close to me. So the normal sensor leads to a small crop, but I could easily switch to the wide angle and click a picture of the entire architecture. And even you will have similar instances and you can switch between all the three cameras and take a good photo. That's why all the three cameras are useful. And picture quality, Well, I really like the pictures, the colors, the dynamic range from the photos. I often use the 3x optical camera to have better shots of buildings and construction site. That freedom of carelessly zooming in and out is really great. And you can also use the 3x optical camera as a macro camera. And it also gives that nice bokeh around the subject straight up close. Talking about videos, you can shoot up to 4K 60 FPS on the main sensor. If you drop back to 4K 30, you can shoot 4K 30 on all the three sensors. And best of all, the main sensor and the 3x optical sensor have OIS. So as you can see, the stabilization is pretty good in 4K 30. Now we took this cycling shot of Kaushik while I was almost sprinting, and at 4K 30 it performs decently compared to X60 Pro. With the front camera, I'm not much of a selfie person, but here's a 32 megapixel selfie camera and the photos are okay. I mean, the dynamic range and all was great, but the skin tone at times turned out unnatural. Moving on, the main deal, Snapdragon 865. So it's powered by Snapdragon 865 instead of Exynos 990. Now, Snapdragon 865 is a flagship chip from 2019. It's not the latest Snapdragon 888. But leave that aside, the entire YouTube missed on one thing. Even the Snapdragon 865 had heating issues. Reason? This was the first chip where Qualcomm went with 5G. Now the thing is, with usual chips like Snapdragon 888, the 4G or 5G modem is built on the chip itself. But in 865, there was no modem on the chip, and phone companies had to buy the modem separately. You can read more here. In simple words, when you're using mobile data, your phone battery has to power two chips, Snapdragon 865 and the modem itself. Now that leads to an extra bit of heating and battery drain. Like here, let me show you. I'm just doing a quick Google Meet video call on 4G. The camera and mic is off. Let me keep it for 5 minutes. And yeah, now you can see the temperature. It's a bit warmer than usual. It's weird, but I quite expected it. Now, even after this heating, the chip and One UI performs really well. This thing flies with day-to-day usage. Even when I push it to play games like Genshin Impact, Call of Duty, absolutely no issues while gaming. Now, with that said, let's move to the part which I didn't like about the device. Straight up, the battery. In my use case, the battery doesn't last an entire day. I get around 5 to 6 hours of screen on time, and at times when I push the device and use a lot of camera or video calls, I have to charge it by evening. And for that, Samsung bundles in a 15 watt charger. The device supports 25 watt charging, but you get a 15 watt charger. And due to this, the battery life. I was asking for an option of a 90Hz refresh rate mode. It would have been a perfect balance of high refresh rate as well as good battery life. Another thing, I would be nitpicking a bit, but I didn't like the overall in-hand feel of the device. It is plastic, but that's not the problem. It's a high quality plastic and feels good. The device is thick at 8.5 mm and hefty. And that would have been okay if it had a huge battery. But this has only a 4500 mAh battery and not even a headphone jack. And then again, there's a camera bump as well. So it could have been a bit slimmer. But moving on, the final question. Should you buy the Galaxy S20 FE? Well, yes and no. No, if you're an Android enthusiast who wants the best specs money can buy in this range. Get a OnePlus 9 or better, OnePlus 9 Pro. I feel the OnePlus brand is right up there with Samsung. But yes, buy this if you want a phone that covers all grounds. Like good 120Hz AMOLED display, good battery, great camera, wireless charging, IP waterproofing, and most importantly, 4 years of security update which includes 3 Android versions. This is the most balanced phone to buy right now at 48,000 after the 8,000 cashback. I would really recommend it. And 48,000 is the introductory price Samsung is asking for the S20 FE 5G. But if it goes back to the original 55,000, get the OnePlus 9 Pro instead. And for the Vivo X60 Pro, I still feel this is a camera enthusiast phone. I'm not sure about the Vivo OS and update cycle. I'm still testing this out. Let me know if you want a dedicated comparison of all the 3 phones. With that said, that was my 1 week experience of the S20 FE 5G. Like the video, and this is Prateek. I'll see you soon.